Along with ceramic painting, the most poignant and personal of ancient Greek artifacts are the grave stele, or grave markers. The stele sometimes informed a sculpted image of the dead, sometimes doing the thing that defined them in life. They were philosophers, citizen soldiers, housekeepers, and servants. Often the living and the dead are just saying goodbye. The quality of the grave stele varies wildly. A lot depends on whether or not a given client could afford the best. Some examples are crude, others are elegant, sensitive, and represent the finest of the classical tradition. All are anonymous. This classical example is somewhat archaic, as the sculptor was a little behind the curve. Note the frontally positioned eyes. But it's exquisitely composed, and it's poetic all the same. The bygone girl admires flowers with a companion. Here we see a woman walking through the underworld with Hermes and Orpheus. A god and a departed hero are the welcoming committee, in what looks to be a sad little ballet. In the ancient world, there was certainly nothing odd about grave markers, for kings that is. But in democratic Athens, any citizen who could buy one could have one. Unlike the Egyptians, the Greeks hated and feared death. Were death any good, the immortal gods would die, said the poet Sappho. But the Greeks resigned themselves to its inevitability, and they accepted the next world with a ration of restraint and dignity. The Greek underworld was commanded by Hades, god of the dead. He was the terrible brother of Zeus, god of the living, and Poseidon, god of the sea. He held forth with Cerberus, a three-headed monster who stood before the entrance to the underworld. The kingdom of Hades was not actually a place of eternal punishment, except for those who had offended the gods in some really awful way. Rather, it was a kind of shadow world where disembodied souls wandered about with little hope or purpose. In ancient religion, you bargained with the gods for an advantage in this life, but after that, you didn't expect much. The short, simple epitaph, meaning literally over the tomb, was an evocative line or two in remembrance of the dead. It could amount to anything, a prayer, an epigram, a lament, or even a joke. Near Eastern tomb inscriptions read like resumes for a job with the immortal gods. Greek examples were different, brief, poignant, sometimes deeply personal. This for the philosopher Socrates. I was not, I was. I am not, I care not. Or this for Alexander the Great. A narrow tomb now suffices, he for whom the world was not enough. For a simpler soldier, we have this. Courageous Timocritus lies in this grave, done in battle, slain in the flower of his fair youth. The god of war spares the coward and condemns the brave. This is a contemporary Roman example, but very Greek in spirit. To our great love, Sabinus, I have raised this small stone. I will look for you when that day comes, and I too join with the dead. And when you drink from that great river where spirits forget, please forego the last drop that causes you to forget me. Children are often the subject of grave stele, since half the children born were dead before puberty. The bird symbolizes the soul, flying off to the next world. The Greek idea is informed to this day. Times may change, but death does not. Annotated gravestones dot cemeteries in every corner of the Western world. Indeed, it is a powerful combination of words and images, both for the great and for the humble. Contemporary graphic novelist and art historian, yours truly, J. Abel, drew an entire book of American epitaphs entitled The Last Word. Athena rests here, done by cruel fate in her 9th winter. You who till this field today, pay your respects to her small ghost, that your life be long, that your children be strong, that only her stone bring you sorrow. We loved her. God loved her more. I did it. This book is dedicated to the ancient Greeks. After all, it was their idea.